Welcome, everyone, to week 2 of the Football Coaches Show. I'm Brett Bickle. I'll be asking questions of head coach Adam Dunn once again. And, well, Coach, hey, big win. You're 6-0. And tell us about the atmosphere on Friday night and the crowd and just kind of your overall impressions of everything.
I usually don't pay too much attention to that, but I guess this year I kind of looking up a little bit more before the game and that kind of stuff. And when I looked up at 6 o'clock, we had the 2 middle sections of those stands filled up, and that was pretty neat. Yeah. It was their homecoming and stuff, and they had your typical homecoming crowd before the game there for them, and they did their homecoming stuff at halftime. But I was pretty impressed by what it looked like at 6 o'clock for us. And then maybe about sometime we came out at halftime and looked up, and it was pretty impressive to see as many people as we did over there. And we always travel well to Piqua, but this one had a little special meaning, and the crowd really rallied behind us when we needed them, and it was fun.
Awesome. So your first possession, you're driving and complete a nice pass near the red zone, and then it's a fumble. The defense has to go onto the field, and they respond really well. The defense really all night, second half, they gave up a couple of touchdowns, but really the defense responded really well. Obviously, Devin Rogers, Caleb Harris, and people on the D are doing a nice job. But talk about the rotation on the defensive line a little bit and some of those guys that are getting in and making some plays for you, not just Reggie.
Right. No, I mean, Devin Rogers is obviously the staple on that line, and I would consider Tony Strayman to be another stronghold there. He gets rotated in a little bit with DeMont Rucker, who also plays on the offensive line. And then Braden Dean at defensive end. Tyler Shiflett at the other defensive end. Joey Bishop was in the rotation, but he's out for the year with an ACL injury. But when he went down, Zach Webb, senior, came back from his injury. So we've got a nice rotation there of about 5-6 guys. And it's nice because most of those guys don't play on the offensive line either. It was a big importance for us this year to try to not have linemen go on both sides of the ball, and for the most part we're pretty good at that, and those guys did a nice job of kind of maintaining that line of scrimmage for us all night. And we don't fumble the ball a whole lot. We haven't turned the ball over a whole lot this year so far, and so when it did happen on our opening drive, we had to respond, and the defense gave the score, but they did a nice job the rest of the half.
Absolutely. So Isaiah with another workman-like performance, 38 carries, 186 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But going into the game, I think you guys mentioned that an area of focus was in the trenches and making sure that you could control the line of scrimmage against Piqua. Talk about your offensive line and some of the consistency they've provided all season for Isaiah to make those great runs.
No, they've done a nice job. That offensive line, like I said, is 5 guys that, we wanted to have 5 guys on that offensive line. So when they came off, they had to go to the bench, sit down, and get talked about what was going on out there and not have to worry about go play defense. That's pretty tough to be able to play both sides of that ball, and so those 5 guys have done a tremendous job so far this year. For the most part, we haven't had to rotate anybody out a whole lot, and it's their team. We pride ourselves on how many offensive linemen and defensive linemen we have that are seniors. We have 10 or 11 seniors that are O or D linemen, and you're going to win in the trenches, and those guys have done a nice job.
So at halftime, you guys lead 21-7. When you guys go into the locker room, do you feel comfortable? Are you nervous about the lead? How do you keep your team there and together?
Yeah, no, the kids, they were obviously pretty excited, and I think the coaching staff is pretty excited also. But knowing Piqua and being around Coach Neese enough, they were going to have some things they were going to change in the second half. They were pretty good coaches, and they made some adjustments on offense that we had to adjust to ourselves. We had some ideas of what they would do, and they did some nice things with their offense in the second half. And we told the kids it was not over yet by any stretch of the imagination, and they understood that there was going to be some ups and downs in that second half, and we were able to weather the storm, so to speak, and come out in the end.
So Piqua scores twice in the third quarter. They miss a PAT, and then they miss a 2-point try to level the game. So you guys still lead by 2. Your next possession, Andre takes the ball on a sweep right and breaks it off for about 64 yards for a touchdown. Talk about the threat that Andre poses for opposing defenses and the extra dimension that he adds to your offense.
Well, you certainly have to honor him. With Isaiah being back there, everyone knows what he can do, and Andre, to a certain extent, people know that he can do also, but you really can't key on one or the other. With the threat of his legs, not just on, a lot of times his legs are created by pass plays that kind of break down or him just doing his thing, but we also have designed runs for him, and that was a designed run, and he got to the edge, and once he gets to the edge, there's a lot of things he can do in the open field, and that was a big play for us, for him to respond and us to be able to get that big score there.
Right. And then the last two really big plays of the game. First, let's go to that 4th and 21. What was the discussion, probably outside of field goal range? What was the discussion on that 4th and 21?
Yeah, we were in field goal range, and then prior play to that didn't work out the way we wanted to, and lost too many yards on it. So obviously we were out. I think we would have probably kicked it if we would have maintained the same amount of yards prior to that play and take the lead on the field goal. But we got back a little bit. We call it timeout to kind of discuss things. Obviously, it was a big play in the game with it being tied there, and Coach Snyder, I gave him a lot of credit. Had a play called. We told the players what we were doing, and then he changed his mind. And it's a play we've run all year, but we usually don't throw to the backside. It's a little bit of a rollout play, and he told Coach Morris to tell Andre, hey, tell him to peek the safety. If the safety moves over about 2 or 3 steps, flip your hips around and hit Rotez on the backside post. And sure enough, you watch film, the safety took about 2.5, Shrub took about 2.5 steps, and that gave him just enough window to put it in there. If it was any less, I don't know if it would have got in there or not. It was a tremendous play call and tremendous play by both those guys to be able to make the hook up there, and obviously it was a big game changer there. And
then obviously flip it kind of to the defense. What goes through that call when you have Piqua scores? They're going to go for 2. We call a timeout, and then you guys go into the defensive huddle for us a little bit on what you think is going to happen and then what happens.
Right. No, with the they went down and scored on us. You don't want to tell your defense, hey, if they score, you can't get all mad because they still got to go for 2 or they might go for 1. But our kids are smart enough to realize those game situations, and we had 1 timeout left to burn. So I was all the way down the goal line next to the official. I asked if I could come out of the coaching box, come all the way down there in case I wanted to burn a timeout. He allowed me to come down there, and I told Coach Coleman, if there's something you don't like, tell me in the headset, and we'll make sure we get a timeout. So all of a sudden he just started yelling in the headset, I don't like it. So I burned a timeout, gave us a chance to get a look at what they came out in. Brought the kids over, and we sold out on everything. We said nobody's feet are in the end zone. We're selling out on the run here. It's probably going to go away from the tight end like they had been doing. And if you look at it, everybody's feet were out of the end zone, and we sold out on it. If it wasn't what it ended up being, I'm not sure if we would have defended it real well, but we had to go for it, and we did. And Isaiah made an incredible play there. He kind of shoved it a little bit sideways, just like we told him to, go with the flow, and if he saw an opening, shoot through it, and then he did it. And to get a loss on a play like that is tremendous. So it was a big-time play, and neat for our kids to be able to come through in a situation like that.
Absolutely. So now looking ahead to week 7, it's homecoming week. It's a Thursday night, so a bit of a shorter week. It's televised. You guys are state ranked, all the other stuff going on. How do you keep your team focused in a short week like this?
We talk about it. I think, some people always say, just stay focused and move ahead. But, kids aren't dumb. They're going to read stuff. And so we talk about the state rankings and the computer points and all that kind of stuff and just put it out in the open. It's, we don't labor on it a lot, but we bring it up and we talk about it and then we move on. It is neat. We also told the kids last night that, all this stuff is happening because we play the greatest sport, football, and we're winning right now. They don't, you don't do homecoming facilities at other sports and that kind of stuff, and we don't have Thursday night games which are not any good, and so it's neat where we embrace the moment that we're in. It's something we've never been in as a coaching staff and players, so it's fun to be around, but at the same time our kids do a tremendous job, and a lot of it goes back to our senior class of just staying focused when we need to, because it is a big week. It's a short turnaround, and you got a team coming in that's made 12 straight playoff appearances, so it's not like we got another letdown. And we talked about the kids about big emotional win. Now you got to go move on because we got another big time opponent coming to our place on Thursday.
So speaking of the Red Devils, they do come to town. They won last year in their first experience playing them in the G-Walk. We were ahead late. Jackets came, the Red Devils scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. So talk about them offensively coming to town this year. What are they like? Are they the same thing?
Offensively, I think Coach Coleman hit the nail on the head last night when we talked to our players. They just do a lot of things on offense to take away your aggressiveness. a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of motions, a lot of movements, a lot of different formations. Run a similar offense to what St. Mary's does, just do it a little bit differently. We haven't done real well defensively against teams that do that kind of stuff, where you got to really stay disciplined and read your keys and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a big challenge for us because they do some nice things on offense. That frustrates us as a coaching staff and frustrates our players a little bit.
And then talk about Tip defensively on the other side of the ball. What do they show you?
Kind of the same thing on the other side of the ball. They'll do a lot of different movements and change some things around and put kids in different spots pre-snap. But in the end, they end up being in the normal spot they normally are. But same thing, they try to take away what you do offensively and take away your aggressiveness. We're aggressive on the offensive side and we're aggressive on the defensive side of the ball. And I think both of the coordinators have hit the nail on the head that we're probably got better athletes, but they do a really nice job of trying to minimize that by doing some different things, by moving kids around and trying to get your kids to think too much. And we just got to come out and execute our game plan, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, hey, thanks, Coach, for your time, and good luck this Thursday night. And this has been Brett Bickle with the Coaches Show, and Stingers up.